Yeah, I think we got everything smoothed out now. So what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, am I admitting you? It says to let you come in. What you gonna do? Hide your face? What's up, everybody? It is your friend CL King coming to you live, as we always do, from the High Definition Studios here. And you got to delete yours, man. The High Definition Studios in Impact. You gotta delete your phone. See, when you let your daughter run technology, right? We here at the High Definition Studios. No stress tonight, no pressure. We just wanted to have a hangout with people who wanted to come out and tell us what they got going on in the world, who have been on the podcast before. Now, it always is like this. Folks will say, yeah, I'm going to be there. And then life happens. And so here's one thing that we don't do. We do not sit around and wait for people to show up. We just roll. You know what I'm saying? And I here's what I say. Who's ever in the room is supposed to be in the room. Now, if you're coming a little late and you want to join, we get a notification. We'll let you in. We won't totally excoriate you just because you're late. But Marines are 15 minutes early. Isn't that right? Yeah, Marines are always on time. And so tonight is just a very relaxed night. We wanted to reconnect with some of the people that we've had on the podcast before and just try to feel out how we can continue to help them to get their message out and get out what they got going on in the world. Now, for those of you who have never been a part of Impacting Life 24/7, it's usually very thoroughly vetted and scripted and all that kind of stuff. But tonight is not anything like that. We're just going to say, hey, man, you want to come on and tell us what you got going on? We blocked a lot of airspace. So if you want to talk for 95 minutes, you might be here by yourself, but feel free, because you don't got to, you know what I mean? You can't stay here. You ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here. So anyway, again, CL King, Impacting Life 24/7. And the way this is going to work is I'm just going to call who I see first. And you can come on camera, or if you want to stay off camera, that's totally fine too. It's being recorded on 3 different ways. So it's it's audio recorded and video recorded. It'll be uploaded on all of our platforms, and you can share it as you see fit. So I see Tarrah Blue. She was actually the first one in the room. Tarrah, if you can hear me, you'll be up first. You can unmute your microphone. If you're not actually, Tarrah multitasks. She's up there in Chicago, Illinois area, so she multitasks a lot. So if I see her microphone not unmuted, and there she is. Look at it. See, I said she was multitasking. So Tarrah
literally walked out the door from work.
Where are you at in the world, Tarrah?
I'm over in Sparta, Illinois, in the middle of nowhere.
Sparta, Illinois. Yeah, what's out? I mean, like, where's that close to?
St. Louis, about an hour from St. Louis, about an hour from Belleville, Illinois.
It's funny because you don't have you don't have an Illinois accent.
No, don't want an Illinois accent.
I know, I wouldn't either. Where are you from originally?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. When I first met Tarrah, I was like, there is going to be no denying if you try to say that you're from New York. They're going to say, no, you're not, ma'am.
Oh.
So
I get asked all the time, where are you from and why are you here? Why would you come here?
How did you get what planet are you from? So we're gonna get to you first, Tarrah, but I wanted to also introduce my other friend, and I'm gonna get to both of our friends, but let me ask Hope Reger. She can take her microphone off mute. Hope, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm exhausted. I've been on a 2-week little worker bee vacation, but I'm home now, and after a 4-hour delay on an airplane yesterday, but we're home and we're doing good.
That's awesome. And where's home for you, Hope?
I am in between Columbus and Dayton in little town of Xenia, Ohio.
Middletown, Xenia, Ohio. And she's just south of where I'm from originally, ladies and gentlemen, the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. And so Hope and I met many, many years ago, and she is doing a phenomenal job. I was following your tour slash vacation slash work slash everything. So it's so awesome to have you with us. And we'll get to you after Tarrah. Mariah is on with us. She's gonna take herself off mute, or do you don't want to say anything? She just wants to eavesdrop and get the tea. That's all. My daughter, if there's anything to be a part of, she's gonna be a part of it. So Tarrah, catch us up, because last time, we had you on the podcast. I can't even remember. Was it 2023 or
Yeah.
22?
No, it was 2023.
Okay. And a lot has happened in your life. So, it's hard for us content creators and influencers to not be known what's going on, but a lot has happened in your life. Kind of get us caught up on what's going on in the world of Tarrah Blue.
Well, the Bible says, if you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you do not, you shall be slain by the sword.
Yeah.
And so on my trip to Florida, the Lord dealt with me, and I didn't really know at the time what God was doing, and I still really don't know what God is doing. But He, every corner I looked, the word obedient was being thrown at me. You need to be willing. You need to be obedient. And then a random person that followed me sent me $250, and she said this one line, and it said, um, oh, what did she say? You made me go blank. But it basically about obedience. Um, and it was one little line. I wish I remembered the exact words. I have to go back and get it. But it just stuck to me. And I'm like, God, what are you trying to tell me? The woman didn't know me from Adam. And I'm like, what in the world?
Uh-huh.
Well, it kind of started from there. And then the Lord dealt with me more and more, and dealt with my husband as well. And now we left Arkansas, and I felt like the Lord was drawing me to Illinois, um, and so here I am. Here
Yeah,
I am.
that's something. And Tarrah, for those who don't know Tarrah Blue, she is a worldwide influencer, has videos with, was it 15, 16 million views, or even more than that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
15 million.
she is I'm talking about, she makes me look like a goat herder when it comes to Instagram.
Whatever. Oh my gosh, just a
but
person.
but Tarrah definitely is unashamed about her faith, and that's probably where we didn't script any of this, so that's a good segue, because you came from a church, you left a church that's several thousand people, right?
He cut out.
Ooh, I didn't cut out. You hear me, Hope, right? Yeah. So whatever happened with you, Tarrah, you got to fix your audio. But Tarrah came from a church of about 4,000 people, and she moved. She felt like God was telling her that she needed to move. Can you hear me now, Tarrah?
Yes,
Okay. Well, you got an iPhone or Android?
I have an iPhone.
Okay. Well, you might need to upgrade with that old. You got that flip phone iPhone.
No, it's the brand spanking new. And what you talking?
So you transitioned from your home church that you were raised in. It's got about 3 or 4,000 people. How many folks there?
I miss home. Yes, about 3,000.
Yeah, and so you were raised there. And tell us about this whole experience of transitioning from your home to a land.
Well,
You're almost like Abraham, like a land that God's going
I'm
to show you.
literally wandering in the wilderness. Like that's literally like, you know, it's it's like being literally, I've got walls around me. It's like little scene in the Bible in my life right now, like for real. Like I moved, I transitioned. I felt like this is what God wants us to do. I still believe He's calling me to Illinois. I don't know if this is necessary the place just yet.
Right.
Um, I'm just trusting and believing. But when I grew up, my home church had 100 people in it, and I watched it grow to 3,000.
Yeah.
So it can happen. It does happen. But I think prayer is key, in everything that you do, and without it, then it just doesn't work.
Right.
Um, so I moved here, and we're helping a small church in Cutler, Illinois. And let me tell you, when I tell you everything has been thrown against my family, that's kind of why I know I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
She knows everything was done easy, then you know then you know you're not in the will of God.
Right.
Okay, I'm just keeping it real. I mean, when I tell you every little thing has been thrown against us, but when I get ready to pack my stuff up and go home, because home is my safe zone. I
Yeah.
know if I pack my stuff up and go home, I'm gonna make it to heaven. My family's gonna make it. Everything is easy peasy.
Right.
The anointing's there. It's just easy, okay? But I will never grow, okay? And I feel like God has called me for more than just sitting on a pew.
Right.
Um, so we're still here and we're just trying to swim. And, like for example, one day I was sitting at we're literally, I'm just keeping it real, y'all. We were on food stamps when we got here, okay?
Mm.
Like everything that we were promised did not happen. And I told God, I said, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I can go back home and be okay.
Right.
Like, I mean, we've never struggled like this. This was a different kind of. This is, it was a. We were growing from it. But I looked at and I was like, we were sitting in the food stamp office. It was the anniversary death of my mother passing away, and I sold my Apple computer. And it's something so simple. I was like, well, we need the money. I'm gonna sell it for $850. I'd only had it a couple months. I said, but we got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And literally, a woman in Georgia, she's also a preacher's wife, randomly said, hey, Tarrah, I want to buy that computer, but God told me to send you double the money. She sends me $1,600. And it was
Whoa.
exactly the amount of money to pay our bills that month. And things like that just kept happening.
Right.
So my husband's like, babe, I think we need to just stay put because God's trying to show us something. And so we're still here. And every time I turn around, God is showing us something new and exciting. And there's been a lot of tears. I mean, there's been a lot of things I don't understand. I feel like I'm wandering in the wilderness, but God keeps supplying the manna. Okay.
Wow, that's good. And for those of you who don't know, we are doing a podcast hangout tonight. We just invited people who wanted to come on, who have been on our platform before, and we just opened it up. No stress, no pressure, and whoever wanted to show up and just share and get us caught up on their life, that's what we're doing. And so one of the things about Tarrah is, we had her on to talk about her, she had a very, very rough childhood and all that type of stuff. And so home can definitely be a safe place for you. And then to be obedient to what God calls you to, and literally uproot everything and move to a foreign land. I would be asking, I'd be checking again. God, are you sure you're talking about Illinois? Don't it snow up there? Like that'd be like God saying, King, I want you to go back to Ohio. My wife would be
There's
like,
nothing like
"Gee."
for hours. But but there's the CR recovery. There's the people that I relate to that I didn't relate to at people at home because most people at home had a sugar coated life, and
Right,
they were third and fourth generation like me, but they never strayed from God and did not have the childhood that I had with the trauma. So
right,
I relate to so many people here. And so I feel like I need to take that niche and allow God to use me to help these people. And I see the people, and even if it's one or two, I know that there's four
yeah,
that I have really, really touched here, that I have come very close to, and that I have affected. And even if it's just those four and it's just for a season, hey, I did it. I went and did it.
right. That's very powerful. Well, let's hang tight. Let's switch to Hope real quick. I
Hey,
want
Hope.
you guys know that Hope is we have to put this disclosure out there, not really, but we do. Hope is a
She's the grieving woman.
Hope is the sponsor, is one of our sponsors, one of our executive sponsors here of Impact Life 24/7. She has been for some time. We have been collaborating since, oh my goodness, 2 or 3, 4 years. I don't know, just all running together. And so Hope, get us caught up on what you have going on in your world.
Absolutely. And I love the way that you expressed that because this past 2 weeks, Tara, like I feel like God has constantly been testing me with this travel. And if you work at the airport, you all need to be a little bit nicer. Just want to throw
Amen.
that
My
out there.
husband just dealt with that.
National. anything. Anyways, we've had 4 flights in the past 2 weeks, and people just aren't very friendly anymore. Anyways, so Tarrah, thank you. I think that that's absolutely beautiful what you said. So, like CL said, we are doing some really amazing stuff right now. I just came back from Parents of Murdered Children. I did a conference out there. I did a workshop and I met some of the most incredible people. And every single time I go to that conference, just the connections that I am lucky enough to walk away with is incredible. And then we did Bereaved Parents of USA this past weekend. And this is my first time doing that. And I was able to even go in and sit into a candlelight ceremony where they read off their children's names and light a candle for them. And it is something that just moves you to be around people, and anybody that's grieving knows this. Being around other people that feel what you feel and understand, and it could be of them it was 25 years, and for some it was 6 months. And so there's still that connection that brings people together that is so incredibly beautiful. Even though we're in this pain of grief, we still connect. There was still laughter, there was still joy, there was still just that comfort in knowing that we weren't alone. And so I was so blessed to do that. And this coming weekend, we're going to be at a veterans conference in Columbus, Ohio, close by me. So we're going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing a book fair to promote my book the next weekend in Grove City, Ohio. As you can tell, I'm in Ohio.
Yeah.
And then the end of this month, we're going to be doing a local library, a Greene County, Ohio library workshop for grief. What I've been doing on the road kind of thing. And then our big notorious program, our nonprofit organization, Grief to Hope, we start this Thursday for our 7-week program, which is completely free, that we invite anybody that's grieving at any point to come and join us via Zoom and be a part of it. So that's what's going on in my world.
That's powerful. And Tarrah, I hope that it with somewhere within the 7 weeks, I can get an invite to come and hang out with y'all again. I really enjoyed that. And one of the reasons why I'm saying that is because it's become, I don't know if you noticed, but I've done a couple funerals recently.
Yeah.
And it has become evident that people need comfort. So I've actually been contracted with a funeral home, Munden Funeral Home, to be a guest officiant when a family doesn't have an officiant. So, coming to a funeral to give comfort to someone you've never met. In fact, the last funeral I did, it was for a Vietnam veteran, and I got the information the night before the funeral. And I said, God, you're going to have to help me because I don't want it to be this sterile, starchy, static kind of presentation. I really want to comfort this lady. And it's they say they do about 7 or 8 military funerals a week. And so and so we definitely need to continue to plug people in to Grief to Hope, because this is just a reality, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Right.
I think the guy in one of our classes at church says you don't have to suffer in silence.
No. And what an amazing thing. And I watched some clips that you've been sending out. First off, they're very lucky to have you to be an officiant, because I've been to many of funerals, and when it's not and you have that amazing ability to be very personable and very moving. People don't realize how impactful that is for the rest of their lives. Because when we're planning funerals and viewings and things, it's almost sort of like we just have to give, what we get, right? We don't know,
Right.
we don't ask questions, we don't. And so for you to even provide that opportunity is amazing, because they don't realize how incredible you are, especially if they don't know you, but what you give to people, and how they would be so lucky. I am going to put it in that when I pass, y'all better be up here giving my.
Well, if I can travel, because it's going to be a long time from now, sister. When I travel, that's for sure. I'm going to go back to Tarrah in a minute, but I did want to ask you this one question. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I got involved with the fentanyl. The parents that have lost children through fentanyl. I've gotten pretty involved in that community. I've actually had some folks on our show that have had national exposure for that conversation and that experience. Have you worked with anyone in that arena at all?
Yeah, I love that, and I think that's amazing. I am doing in-person workshops now, starting back up when I got back. Next Tuesday, I think the 6th, I believe it is. I work with men in recovery, so I go out in person and do my 7-week program. It is so imperative to be out there with those men, and they are just the most kindest, gentlest souls, and they talk about their grief in a way that when I first took this role, I was like, they're not going to talk to me. They're not going to want to talk to me about grief.
Right.
And these men love it. They want to talk. They want to walk through the recovery. And especially if grief, and a lot of times it is, grief impacts that recovery, and in so many ways. So it's been incredible, and I'm so grateful to be able to go out there and just be a little bit a part of their recovery.
I love that, man. That's so powerful. Recovery is important, man. It's
Yeah.
very very important. So Tarrah, tell us, we hear and definitely understand the enormity of transitioning all the way across to the Midwest from Arkansas. Tell us what you feel. I mean, like in terms of what God has for you to do. Has He spoken that to you, or are you still kind of seeing it materialize as you're being patient? Well, you got to put it off mute first. Start there.
Well, let's backtrack for a minute. So,
Go ahead.
like that's amazing that you guys are doing that, because there is a short, in my story where I was on drugs very, very bad when I was running from God. And so, see, recovery is a big thing in my life, because you find things that you want to do when you're running from things, or just to numb things. Okay.
Yeah.
And also working in pediatrics, I see a lot. Okay. When I worked in Little Rock at Children's, I seen a lot with like fentanyl overdose. I just blow your mind. So it's real, it's raw. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. It's very humbling.
Thank
Back to CO King. Okay, I feel like God is unfolding the rose right before my eyes. I do. I feel like you kind of know what I want to do and what I feel like God wants me to do. I feel like God has a bigger plan for me. Um, people assume that us influencers have all of this money,
Yeah.
and we don't. Um, I get asked for money on a daily basis. My inbox is full of that, and I am a huge giver. But what you don't understand is I work 2 jobs. Like, I'm just a normal person that does not, I don't have a team. Mr. King has a team, though. I haven't got to that level yet. Mr. King's going to be on my king or on my team. But no, I feel like a podcast. I want to speak more, um, because when I talk about the trauma and overcoming and the power to forgive, that is my biggest reactor to people, and the weight loss. Those are the things that brought me to where I am on social media. God
Mhm.
gave me that platform for a purpose. He doesn't just hand it to someone. It does. Mine happened within a 24-hour period, and I posted one reel, and it continued to grow. And now it's even growing on TikTok. So I finally went to TikTok. So I'm big on Instagram, I'm big on Facebook, and now I'm trying to grow TikTok to try to show you that people can overcome, that they can have the power to forgive, because without forgiveness, you can't ever move on.
Yeah.
And so it's hard, and that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's truth. When I was able to finally let go and let God, that is when I established freedom. Okay. Like, it's hard to
Yeah.
explain, but that's just the way it is. When I can forgive everything that's ever happened to me. And when I tell you guys, I have been through the fire. Okay. Like, every
Amen.
single thing that a person has done, I have done it. And then it was done to me. So it's just one of those things. I feel like God is calling me to that level and helping people be an overcomer.
I love what you said about forgiveness, and I'm just going to put a plug in for Christian counselors. People think, like you say, people have this assumption about influencers. Like, I have a Christian counselor, believe that, or the impact motivator. Y'all hear that all across the world? That's right. Yeah, because of the trauma that was unresolved, right? So recently,
Right.
one of the
Or
things,
hidden
right?
underneath the rug.
Right, right. So one of the things he recently had me do, and he's a Christian counselor, so I definitely would try to align with someone that's of faith, at least for me. He had me write a letter because we're going through each category of the traumatic experiences, and he had me write a letter to my grandmother because I didn't go to her funeral. I was bitter with her, angry with her, hurt by her, and that's just one of the three other people. And he said, "Why don't you write her a letter?" And I'm telling you what, I mean, she's been dead for 15 years now, y'all. But when I wrote that letter and really just put my words on paper, how I felt, but not only how
Mm,
I felt, but how I was at a position in my life now to not continue to carry that bitterness around, that was something. That
yes.
exercise was just very liberating for me. And it's like, okay, she is dead. What am I still angry with her for? What happened happened, but now I'm the one that's accountable for this unforgiveness in my heart. How was your journey of unforgiveness? I mean, forgiveness.
Well, my mother died a pretty bad death with COVID, and she was in kidney failure prior to that on dialysis, and she was diabetic. My mom became my best friend the last 3 years of her life, but she was very, very sick. And she would say, the reason I'm so sick is because the life that I chose to live.
Hmm.
And she said, she would say, that's my payback from God. And I was like, Mom, you do. She said, I'm reaping what I sowed. She would say that. But I remember the night before she went on that ventilator, she was saying, Tarrah, I'm so sorry. Because we couldn't see her. We couldn't go up there, and we were FaceTiming. And I said, Mom, I've already forgiven you. And, I was crying because she was still hanging on to that. And I'll just give you a short little. My mom, allowed my stepfather molested me for 9 years, but in the beginning, my mom grew up apostolic. But my mom married this man and also molested me for over 3 years, and they made me do things to them. And so my mom, even though she got back in church, she hung on to that, and there was a lot of animosity in our relationship because she chose to stay with him. And so it took years, but there's something in me that finally just struck, like, I will never be able to move on if I have the bitterness in my heart, kind of like you, like, because it didn't matter. It did not matter to me. Like, at the end of the day, whether they tell me they're sorry or not, they may never, ever, those people may never say that they're sorry. Okay. But if we don't just accept it and be like, you know what, they did horrible things to me, but I don't want to live in that anger and hold on to that, because I will never ever be able to amount to nothing, because I will always want to do the drugs, or I'll always want to have the pity party. And that's
Right.
horrible to say, but that's what I wanted to do. Or my biggest thing was always trying to get someone to love me.
Yeah.
That was that It was the drugs and trying to get someone to love me, because I never had the love that I should have had. So and I fought that and fought that and fought that. And one day I was just like, I'm not going to let this hold me down anymore. Like, I'm not. And I told the Lord, I was like, God, I need victory in my life. Like,
Yeah,
I need victory. And he gave me that victory. I prayed for victory, and he set me free.
he did, and thank God he set you free. I think there's a song that goes that we might break out in that song real quick if we didn't keep.
No, that's not.
Now watch out, them apostolics, they crazy. All right, let me ask you a question, Hope. What is one of the biggest? And I didn't prep you for this. I should have, but you're a sponsor, so you're held to a higher standard. What is one of the biggest misconceptions about how people should process grief?
Well, I could go on and on. So you don't even have to prep me for this. One of the biggest things that I think there's a few myths out there. The saying "time heals all wounds." I say that all the time. That doesn't belong with grief. Grief is there for the long haul. I say as long as you love somebody, that's how long your grief will last, which is forever, right?
Yep.
And so grief doesn't poof disappear. That was one of the biggest things that I ran into. I was like, listen, if I journal every day, if I go to a counselor session, if I go to support groups and I cry every single day, at a certain point, I'll cross the finish line and I won't feel this horrible, right? There is no finish line. However, there is a part that you can move towards to start to live with grief. And what I mean by that is to actually start living in the moment in the way that you intended your life to be, even with the grief. And what happens is you now live for you and the loved one. And that's what I tell everyone is that I live for Justin and I now. Ironically enough, when you were talking about forgiveness, is that was one of the things I had to forgive the person that shot and killed my son. Because if I would have said, if I would have sat in there, just like Tarrah said, if I would have sat in that anger, it would have consumed me for the rest of my life, and I wouldn't have been able to provide any kind of service to anyone. And so forgiving him for what he took allowed me to stop giving him any more of my bad energy and start putting out more positive energy into the world so that I could make a difference some way in the honor of my son. And so forgiving him, and people are amazed by this, just as if they are, when you forgive somebody that's hurt you, is that it's about allowing them not to take any more away from you. And for me, I needed to stop giving him any more of my time. And that's when I needed to start focusing on giving my time to others, giving more time to my son, giving more time even to me, and to be a better person. But sorry, I went off on the forgiveness part.
Okay.
But I think one of the biggest things, like with grief, is that it doesn't end. There's not a 2-month time capsule that all of a sudden poof it goes. That it's with you for a lifetime. And then also people grieve differently. Every single person grieves every single way differently. My grief for my son is not going to be the same grief that I feel towards my aunt, towards my parents, towards even my other son. Hopefully I pass before he does, but those kind of things every single grief that we have is completely different, like a snowflake. And you will not grieve the same way throughout your life as you lose family members and loved ones. And so we need to stop also comparing ourselves to going back to normal. And this was one thing I talked in great detail in our conferences. A lot of times we get so hooked on, I got to get back to normal. I've got to go back to the way things were. I've got to, and people influence that with us. They're like, Hope, we want you to go back to normal, the happy go lucky. We want you back to normal.
Right.
And a lot of times that turns us into, we feel like failures because we're not going back to that normal. And
Right.
I tell people all the time that normal no longer exists. You're now a new me, and you have to trust in the fact that you're going to be a better person. Like, I'm a better, more patient, more grateful, more in the moment. I'm a better person now after this tragedy happened, and that I don't need to think that I have to go back to feel that normal. This is my new normal.
That's very, very powerful. Great job too. You got that keynote down good. That.
Ah!
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. We're gonna be on the stage one day together. One thing I wanted to ask you, and I'm gonna ask you guys a couple quick closing questions. Then I'm gonna let you go because I need to go get to bed. We have okay. Full disclosure, many people won't see this, so I can tell y'all. We had a season where sugar found its way back into my life. Right,
Oh,
y'all might have known that I had removed sugar. Remember, Tarrah? Yeah, you remember. And life just happened. I'm on the road, traveling a lot. I mean, it's just who can eat a fruit basket when you're on the move, right? You got to swing in to get you a Dairy Queen Sunday. And so my daughter, who Mariah, who is actually my producer extraordinaire, photographer, and everything else, she said, you know, Dad, we need to get back on this. And so what are we on, Mariah, now? It's day 7? Yeah, day 7. And I am just so weak. So I went out and tried to cut the grass earlier today and about fell out because it's like you don't realize how much that stuff impacts your body.
mm,
Sugar is a killer. And so, but it tastes so good. So
yeah.
I wanted to ask you this question, and I'm gonna ask Tarrah a question. Have you ever thought about putting together a training for like HRs and organizations because they do not I don't think many organizations get that piece of now they'll give you 12 weeks for maternity leave, paid maternity leave, right? Many
Right,
organizations will do that now. But when you lose a family member, they say take as much time as you need, but they don't really mean that. I've got many
right,
friends that have been like kind of forced back to work after like losing their wife or whatever. Some folks they feel like they need to go back to work. But other folks are just like, man, I'm not ready, but I'm out of leave and they're forcing me back. I wonder if that would be something just to think about to throw up against the wall one day is like, man, maybe we could go train some organizations about
Yes.
how employees are processing grief and what we need to do to support them through that. You ever thought, what's your thoughts on that, Hope?
yeah, so I work on that right now. I have a lot of statistics when it comes to grief, and there is, I think it's like a 2.5 billion loss in workplace because of grief. Like the decisions, a lot of times when people come back to work, their mind's not on their work, so there's lost productivity, there's missed work because they don't feel like going, but they have sick leave, they don't have other leave, but they have sick leave, lost concentration, the brain fog, the grief fog. Absolutely. There has to be something started in workplace that one, we need to start shining a light on grief and what the impact is. And I have tons of statistics that I'm working on of how grief impacts the workplace. So absolutely, it's huge. I'd love to start getting out into schools as well, just to give them basic resources. These children, we've got 1 in 12 children lose their sibling or their parent before they're 18. And not one school or middle school, I think New Jersey has it now, that talks about grief, that really has a focus in grief. So I think there's a lot of work to be done when it comes to school and the workplace. So you hit the nail right on the head.
That is so good because it just seems, obviously these unexpected occurrences, which for most of us, grief, I mean, death is unexpected.
Hmm.
And we just find ourselves, and I see organizations and companies doing this. They're just like scrambling, not knowing what to do. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And then it's like, well, yeah, it's been about a week. You should be good to
Right.
go. And I think there needs to be, like I told somebody at a major retailer today. I said, you guys have moved from the customer experience to the customer transaction. That's what y'all are.
Hmm.
You are not concerned about my experience in your store. You're just concerned that I get in, spend my money and get out. And
Right.
and that's the case oftentimes in the workplace. It's like, well, what can we need you to come back and start making transactions for us. They forget about the experience that that person has had.
Right. It's
Yeah,
very
so
difficult.
I want to do a brainstorming session with you on that whenever, if you ever want to, because
Always.
I definitely see that
Always.
as
Yes.
as
Always.
a
Always with you.
as a need. Tarrah, I got a question for you.
Hey.
Is your phone is off mute? You're good.
Oh, you know, I got rolled up when my mom died. I had only missed 4 days of work. And not only that, when you said that the customer is turning back into we are the transaction. It's that way in the healthcare field now too. Like they literally like for instance, our job now in Illinois, we have a call list where we have to literally call every single patient that hasn't had a well visit because they get paid more off of a well visit. It's so y'all, it's so crazy. We are literally a transaction.
Yeah, that's
Thought
sad.
I'd put that out there.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I'm going to remember that you said it because whatever you say usually turns to gold. Let me ask you this.
Jesus.
Let me ask you this, Tarrah.
Okay.
Before I let you guys go, what would you give as a word of advice to someone who maybe is in your or preparing to or wrestling with your situation of transitioning from something super familiar, super comfortable and easy to following after God in a place that is unfamiliar, and you get there and you face all adversity and you got this doubt and all that kind of stuff because people go through that. This will be a word of encouragement for them. What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, before you do it, make sure it's the right thing. Meaning, make sure you speak to your pastor, which I did, if you have one. Your leader, who you look up to, your mentors. Fast, pray, read the Bible, seek after your God. My God. And then, you know, nobody said the road would be easy. Okay? If the road's easy, then it's probably not your calling. But if the
Right.
road is rough, because I'm telling you, like pain and trials are part of a process.
Right.
Without them, we are nothing. We wouldn't want more. We wouldn't want to overcome. We wouldn't want to learn to grow. We wouldn't want to. So transition is very hard. I would say don't give up because I haven't gave up. My pastor back home told me to give it 6 months. It's been 6 months and it's been hard. I'm just, I want to run. I want to run. But I don't think God wants me to run. I actually know God does not want me to run. So I've just got to be like in the Bible days and just wait, be patient, trust God. Just because right now I'm in the trial. Like I'm just telling you what I'm doing, and God will show up. Like God has showed up every second that I have wanted to give up. He has stopped me. He has stopped every chance of me wanting to run back home. So if you are in that transition and you feel like, hey, it's like, y'all, you know how an ADD mind works, an
Yeah.
ADHD mind? It's like, I want to go left, I want to go right, I want to go in a circle, I want to go forward. And that is how my mind is. And I need some peace in my mind. But then when I get ready to make an effort to just go back, God's put something in my path, and it's just like right there. It's like a stop. It's like a stop sign. It says, "Nope, Terry, you're gonna stop. You're gonna wait, and then you'll know." It's like Now, if it comes to the point where it's time to go home, I really truly believe you'll know when it's not your calling.
Right.
Right. I don't think the road is easy, but I think in the end it's going to be worth it because I'm going to see the people that I have impacted and the people that I have helped make a difference in, even if it's for a season, because there is seasons to life. It doesn't mean that I'm supposed to be in Illinois forever. It could be 6 months. Okay. It could be a year. It could be 10 years. I'm not saying that it's forever. I
Right.
just got to wait and trust the Lord and figure out. So if you're in the transition and you feel you're at rock bottom or you feel like you're wandering in the wilderness, don't quit. Don't give up on God and don't run. You just need to wait and just wait it out and pray, because when you do something, I have learned this. You don't want to ever do anything stupid in the middle of something that you are unsure of, that you're uncertain,
Yeah.
because that could be the worst decision that you could ever make in your life.
Yeah, I know one of my favorite scriptures is when Moses was standing before the Red Sea and God told him to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord with you. I always, I'm like, I just picture this in my mind. Hey, God, don't you see these brothers?
What do you really what?
It's 600 of them behind me. What you talk about? Stand still.
Have you lost your mind?
Yeah, and God says, "No, stand still. I got this."
No,
And
I
that
got
can,
this.
in our human intellect, because everybody wants to be so intellectual about faith. Faith is not intellectual. We have to
Nope.
remember that faith is a substance of things
Of
that we
things
hope
hope.
for
Mm-hmm.
and the
The
evidence of
things
things
we
we
can't
can't
see.
see. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what a tremendous word. I'm going to make this into a reel. I like that part right there. Hope, I want to ask you before I let you go, you know that somebody, no doubt, will watch this broadcast or listen to this broadcast that has lost a loved one. And so I'm going to lay this out for you as only you could respond to them. They are
They
wait
are wait.
they're listless right now. They don't know what to do. What would you say to them?
So if you've lost someone, whether it's recently, 6 months, a year, 2 years, first of all, it's fresh, right? If it's still there, it's fresh, right? And so I think that one of the biggest myths that we can say is like it goes away or it doesn't matter after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. If it's still impacting you, it's fresh for you and it's still important to you. And I encourage you to the best thing to do is to surround yourself with others who can actually feel and understand and talk to you about your experiences, talk to you about their experiences, where they're at. And it almost gives you a peace to know that you're not way out in left field alone and feeling this way, and that it's most of the time it's something that's common and that we all feel and we all go through, and that it's something that with these stages they talk about 5 stages, and I tell everybody there's no stages to grief. There may be different phases that you go through, but you've got to realize that everybody will go through these different emotions at different amounts of times, and it is your grief, your way, your snowflake, your fingerprint, and be around others that can provide you with coping skills, hope, support, compassion. And then if you need something further, absolutely reach out and find some professional that fits you. And when I say that, I mean sometimes you have to try one, two, three professionals before they actually fit the way that you want them to fit. And there's no pressure in hurrying up and just accepting what you're given. And that's the first thing, is to really be patient with yourself, really be patient with your grief, and know that there is so many resources and so many people out here that want to help you.
That's very, very powerful. And I will say this, Hope. Thank you for those words. I try to and want to continue to push everybody I can to Grief to Hope support. And if you anytime, and I want to tell you folks this who are part of our Leadership Institute, which you both are, anytime you want to post something there about what you're doing, just consider it your group. Just post it. That's very, very important for us to share and curate the resources. I think about a honeybee. Whenever you see a honeybee alone, it's usually gathering, pollinating, so that it can go back to the hive. A honeybee is a creature of the crowd. It realizes that it's not good alone. And what I would say about Grief to Hope is that you have created a hive. You've created a place where people can come and not feel alone. We are creatures of the crowd. And sometimes death can make us feel like we need to be isolated. We want to isolate. We want to tend to our wounds. But man, you give them such a safe place to heal and recover. It's very, very powerful. So listen, ladies, I got to go. I'm going to go back to bed. You guys continue to do what you're doing. To continue. I thank you so much. This was really cool. I'm going to make some cool reels for us all with you guys' statements and kind of some clips. Very, very powerful, great insights with two great ladies. And even Mariah learned something tonight. So I thank you so much. And we appreciate it. I'll let you guys out the room, but thank you, Hope, for everything. Thank you, Tarrah.
Love you.
Love you guys too. You take care. All right, folks. So let me see here. How do I do that? Yeah. I want you to know that tonight we conclude our hangout and don't submit, don't report. And we are also very, very thankful that we had these ladies participate. Here's what I know. That they came for the right reason, the right time, the right purpose. And we needed to hear their message. We need to hear their story. So I'm very, very thankful for that and thankful for you. So listen, I got to roll, like I said, but if you want to become a sponsor of Impacting Life 24/7, all you got to do is go to clkingspeaker.com. You can scroll down to the bottom and click the subscribe or support button. If you want to do a one-time gift, you can use your Cash App, $IL247LLC. Email us, invoice us, Facebook pay us, however you want to do it. The reason why I say that is because we're continuing to add more facilities to our impact program called Stay Free. And that is at no cost to those facilities. It's a total cost to our organization. And the only way we can continue to sustain that is by sponsorship. Imagine being able to go into a facility of hurting men and women, and being able to touch their lives with a few morsels of words and get them to see that once they get free, they stay free. In addition to that, I mean, all the other things that we have going on, back to school rallies, got 2 major back to school rallies coming up. It's just expansive, y'all. I don't have a lot of time to always list everything we got going on, but trust me, there's no shortage of grass growing under our feet. That ain't happening. We don't do that. Consequently, we realize that it takes funds to do this. And Greg and I put a lot of our own money into the program because we want to see it work. We want to see it happen. And so that's why we solicit sponsors to help us along the way. Even like this broadcast, all the things that you see and hear, we have to pay for. And that's why we've had over 500 people on this broadcast from all around the world, because we didn't just chintz on it. We didn't just do it with a little flip phone on a couch somewhere. We made it right. And that's why people like to be on this platform. Anyway, we thank you so much, Tarrah. Thank you so much, Hope, for blessing our audience. And we can't wait to see you folks again. We'll do another hangout maybe once a quarter and just bring people on who want to hang out and tell us about how their life has improved and changed, the impact that they're doing. That's always good to hear. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you have a great time and a great day. See you later.